Here's the thing. Economically, it is expected to provide a boost, provide, of course, an energy mix there as well, unlock areas of growth there, perhaps even siphon in a lot of materials, cement, steel. It does carry some risks, though, and I think we're just at the very beginning, early innings of this as well. Things like damage to biodiversity. India, of course, intentions there as well, given, of course, where it is literally speaking. That's because certainly when you look at the river that does run through the state in northeast India is, of course, a key there. Concerns over impact on water flows, for example. Now, in terms of the actual cost, and this might also go into what we're seeing as far as price action in the CGB space, right? So futures were down 0.5% yesterday. Yields have been pushing higher. There you go, nearly $170 billion. And it could take at least a decade. So literally we'll be talking about this story for a couple of years to complete. But yeah, suffice to say, this is certainly something with a lot of implications. Yvonne.
Yeah, let's get to someone that's been really tracking all this and really behind this whole massive project as well, and bring in Dan Murtaugh to tell us a bit more about this, right? First of all, maybe tell us a bit more about the scale of this, the economic benefits that it has for China, before we kind of get to maybe some of the other risks out there.
First, that there's still a lot of details we don't know about the project. They mentioned that it's going to be basically a cascade of five separate hydropower projects. They have not told us what the actual capacity that they're intending to build is, but state engineers with Power China have previously said that this stretch of the Yarlung-Sangbo River could house 70 gigawatts of power. That's 3 times bigger than the Three Gorges Dam, which is currently the biggest power plant in the world. It's more than all the power plants in Poland combined. So we're looking at potentially an absolutely massive project, but it's also going to be incredibly challenging. It's a very remote area. This is one of the last parts of China, one of the last counties of China that was even connected by highway. So just getting the kinds of equipment, hydropower turbines, workers, like getting those people there is going to be a challenge in and of itself. And so when you look at the price tag and you look at the time that they're looking at building this stuff, you can sort of start to see some of the challenges that they're going to be facing and will need to overcome.
Yeah, Dan, do we know enough to have at least early estimates of how this might boost, well, number one, economic growth, and what this might also do as it pertains to the energy mix as far as the upside there is concerned specifically?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we can sort of take some good educated guesses at this. The one thing we do know is they put a price tag on it, and it's big enough, as you mentioned, David, that we're looking at something that is going to affect the macro picture in China. We've seen bond yields, we've seen stocks, we've seen commodity prices all move on it. This is Tibet is one of the poorer regions of China, so there's going to be some economic stimulus there. There's concerns from a biodiversity standpoint because this is an area where you have like cool, dry Himalayan air meeting warm, wet, moist air from the Indian Ocean, and so it's a really, really unique spot from a biodiversity standpoint. So we're hopeful that all these workers they bring don't trample it there. But in terms of the energy standpoint, it's a super interesting project. It's just in terms of how much money it's going to cost and how big it is. It's probably a lot more expensive than just building out wind and solar. But what we've seen here is, as China's had this huge energy transition, is that wind and solar have done a good job of reducing the amount of coal that needs to be burned, but it's not really yet replacing coal, because you still need, when the sun goes down, when the wind stops blowing, you need coal power plants as sort of backups to them. What this project is, if they're able to build it and they're able to succeed, this project is a coal killer. This can replace coal plants. They'll be able to shut down 50, 60, 70 coal power plants with the amount of power this generates. And so that's the kind of upside that they're looking for. But again, it's several years off, and it's going to be a really challenging project to bring in on time and on budget. So we have a long way to go before we see if they're able to realize that dream.